Before we get started, just so everybody knows, everybody is in listen-only mode right now, so all of your phones are on mute. At the very end of the webinar, if you have a specific question, you can type it into the question box, and we will read each one of the questions and answer them at the end of the webinar. So to get started, this is the page that you will log into when you go to the SOPHAS portal, and the link for that is just portal.sophas.org. And when you first log in, this is what you're going to see. For applicants that are brand new, what you're going to want to do is click on the Create New Account button, which is right here, and fill out your pertinent information. A couple of things I want to point out here. The first one, and this is a common mistake that we do tend to see throughout the course of the cycle, is that please make sure that you're entering your last name first and then your first name. Multiple times we receive applicants that just enter their first name and then their last name, and it makes it difficult for us to be able to find your application in the system, as well as it makes it difficult for your programs to find your name in the system. Notice that you do have the option of entering a Social Security number, but it is not required by SOPHAS for you to enter your Social Security number. The reason why we do ask for it is that we do use the Social Security numbers to match your official test scores. But if it's not something that you want to enter into the application, you have the option of not entering that. And if you are planning on taking the MCAT scores, you do need to enter in your AAMC ID number. That is the only way that we can match your MCAT scores to your SOPHAS application. So if you do plan on taking the MCAT, please be sure to fill out this field with your AAMC ID number. For applicants that did apply last cycle and your application was verified last cycle, meaning you had a GPA calculated, you do not have to create a whole new account. You can go to this blue box up top here that says reapplying to SOPHAS, and you can apply as a reapplicant. So if you submitted your application was paid and verified, you can apply as a reapplicant. So you just want to click on this button. And there's two options that you have. You can put in the username and password that you used for your application last cycle, or you just enter in the email address that you used for your application last cycle and submit it. Doing that will basically pull over most of the information that you entered into your application last cycle. The only things that do not pull over are your letters of recommendation, and so you will have to complete that section of the application again. Your personal statement, you will have to complete that section of the application again. And then if you have any updated coursework from last cycle to this cycle, you will need to log into your application and enter in that updated coursework, as well as send us an updated transcript. So those are the two ways that you can apply into SOPHAS, either as a new applicant or as a reapplicant. Also, before we go into the actual application, I want to point out that there are very, very detailed FAQs and instructions for each section of the application. So if you have questions as you're filling out your application, please try to look in the FAQs first to see if we can answer your question there. If you don't see the answer to your question in the FAQ or in the instructions, at that point, please go ahead and contact our customer service line. So let's go into the application itself. So when you first log in as an applicant, this is what you're going to see, and this is my test account. One of the things that I'm going to point out right away is when you first log into your application, one of the things that we would like to request that you do first is fill out the colleges and universities attended section of your application. The reason why we ask you to do that is because when we receive your official transcripts, we cannot post those transcripts to your account until you've actually filled out this section. So the colleges and universities attended is every college or university that you attended, whether you're a foreign applicant or a U.S. applicant. You do have to enter every college or university that you attended. Even if the courses that you took may have transferred over to your main institution, you still have to enter the name of the school that you attended. And then once we receive your official transcripts, we will be able to post your transcript to your application, but we won't be able to do that until this section of the application is complete. So we do request that you fill out this section of the application first. I also want to point out on the right-hand side of your application is the check your status. So this is basically going to walk you through every part of the application as you're moving through the application process. So right now you can see that my personal application right now is in progress. Once you submit your application, the status will change to either submitted complete or submitted not complete. And then once your application is verified, you'll see your status is verified. Once your application is verified, you will receive an email, and we do encourage you to go in and check your GPA calculation to make sure that it looks correct. If you come up or see any discrepancies, you can always call our customer service line, and we can check things out for you. We also let you know when your transcripts have been received and when your official references have been received. So you don't need to call customer service to say, you know, I submitted a transcript, have you received it yet? You can check that information every time that you log into your portal. You can check that information right from here. We also let you know when your official tests have been received. So again, instead of calling customer service, we encourage you to log into your application and check the status of your application right from here. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single section of the application because I think most of it is pretty straightforward, but I will go into a few sections and kind of pull out some of the common mistakes that applicants make. So your personal information, again, this is very standard information. Are you a U.S. citizen? Your legal state of residency, if you have dual citizenship, if you hold a visa. Again, these are all very straightforward questions. For the date of birth, this is a required section, and I ask you to be very, very careful when you're entering your date of birth. If you enter this incorrectly, that prevents us from matching your official GRE scores to your application, because that's one of the data points that we use to match your scores. So if you incorrectly enter your date of birth, it's going to prevent your official GRE scores from matching to your application. So please be careful when you are entering in this information. And then your information about your race and ethnicity down at the bottom. Again, please keep in mind that these are non-required fields. If you do not wish to enter information into these fields, you certainly don't have to do so. Your contact information, again, is very general. Your current mailing address and your permanent mailing address, these may be the same or these may be different. And then a second-party authorization. Most of the time, we basically tell if a parent or a friend or somebody calls into our customer service line, we typically do not like to talk to anybody other than the applicant themselves because this is your application. However, if there is a reason why you need to have somebody call in on your behalf, please make sure that you enter that information here so we are able to talk to one other person about your application. Okay, additional required information. This is basically if you've been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony. You do want to be very truthful in these sections of the application. Most programs, once you submit an application, a lot of programs will run a background check. So they will verify that the information that you're entering into this section is actually truthful. So again, you know, it's better to be truthful and enter in all the pertinent information here rather than not enter the information. Okay, so the community and volunteer service, the relevant honors and awards, and your research experience, okay? As you can see, the required sections of the application are indicated by a red box. As you can see, these are not required sections of the application. It's up to you whether or not you want to enter information into these sections. As you can see, one of the things that we do require down here is you are required to enter a resume. Now, a resume typically is going to have the same exact information that you would enter into these three fields. So this is the reason why we don't make these required. If you only wish to upload a resume that has this information on it, then that's fine. But you also have the option, if you can upload your resume, you also have the option of putting the information into these sections of your application as well. For your test section, most applicants that apply through SOPHAS typically take either the MCAT or the GRE scores. We do receive multiple questions about the GRE scores. So there's a couple of things that I want to point out here. You can log into the text session and you can basically, you can self-report your scores on any of the tests that you see here. So the MCAT, the TOEFL. So for the MCAT score, when you request to have your MCAT score sent to SOPHAS, this is the code. So the code is just SOPHAS. For your international students, when you request to have your TOEFL scores sent to us, this is the code that you have to use to request those scores be sent to SOPHAS. And the only other official score that we receive here at SOPHAS is a GRE score. The rest of the scores that you see here have to be sent directly to the institutions that you're applying to if they require them. Not all programs are going to require the rest of these scores. So you want to check to make sure that you're meeting the individual school's requirements. One of the things I want to point out with the GRE is, because we do receive multiple questions about this, each individual SOPHAS program, if they want their scores to be, your official scores to be sent to SOPHAS, each individual program has a separate GRE code. Where can you find those codes? If you go into the FAQ section here and then click on Standardized Tests, which is right here under Sending Documents, click on Standardized Tests, there's a list right here that says SOPHAS GRE code list. If you click on that, it basically gives you the individual school code for pretty much every program that is a part of SOPHAS. So, for instance, if you're applying to Stony Brook, you need to send your GRE scores to code 0622. If you're applying to Temple, you need to send your official GRE score to code 0151. Now, even though these are individual school codes, when you request to have your scores sent to these individual codes, they are actually coming to SOPHAS, and then we post your scores to these individual institutions. So if you're applying to more than one institution, if you request to have your scores sent to Temple, but not to Stony Brook, only Temple is going to be able to see your scores. So you do have to request that your GRE scores are sent to each individual institution in order for that institution to see your scores. The other half of this is, if when you do send your scores to SOPHAS, you are not required to also send your scores to the individual institution. You only need to have your scores sent to SOPHAS, and then we will post your scores for the individual schools to be able to see them. Okay. The next section, like I said, we do request that you try to fill out the colleges and universities attended section first. This section must be filled out whether you're a U.S. applicant or a foreign applicant. If you're a foreign applicant, you're simply going to enter in a non-U.S. foreign institution. And U.S. applicants, again, you do have to enter in every college or university that you took courses with. The next section is the coursework section. And as you can see here, if I scroll over, there's a little question mark that comes up that says you must complete your college and university attendance section before entering your coursework. So again, that's another reason to go in and enter to fill this section out first. For foreign applicants, so if you are an applicant and you did not take any courses within the United States, you are not required to fill out the coursework section of the application. What we require you to do is send your foreign transcripts to WES, which is the World Education Services, and that is the only foreign evaluation that SOPHAS will accept. So you must send your foreign transcripts to WES and request that they do a WES ICAP evaluation. And then once they do the WES ICAP evaluation, WES will forward your foreign evaluation to us, which we will post online for your individual programs to see. So again, foreign applicants do not need to fill out the coursework section, but you do need to have your foreign evaluation sent to us from WES. If you're a U.S. applicant, you are required to fill out the coursework section of the application. A lot of questions we get are, do I have to fill out all of the coursework, or do I just have to fill out prerequisites? You are required to fill out every single course that you took that appears on your official transcript. So you really want your coursework section to look exactly like your official transcript. This is another reason why we say, before you start to fill out your SOPHAS application, not only would we like you to request to have an official transcript sent to SOPHAS, but to also get a copy of your transcripts for yourself to make sure that you're entering your coursework correctly. One thing to keep in mind, we do not require the receipt of your official transcripts or your letters of recommendation before you submit your application. So if you are an applicant and you go in and you have filled out every section of your application and you know that you've done it correctly, you can at that point go ahead and e-submit your application. Even if we have not received all of your official transcripts yet, or if your letters of recommendation have not been submitted by your evaluators yet, you can still go in and submit your online application to SOPHAS, and then once we receive your transcripts, we'll go ahead and post them to your account. So again, you do not have to wait for your letters of recommendation or your transcript to be received before you submit your application. Okay, so that's the coursework section. Again, you are required to upload a resume, and it's pretty easy. You just need to go in, make sure that you have your CV or resume in a file that you can attach. So you just go in, you browse the file, find your CV or resume, and then click Upload File, and it will upload right to your application. Again, please keep in mind that there is a file limit, which is 250 KB. So if you are over this file limit, you should get an error message letting you know. If you have any troubles with this section, again, you're always welcome to call our customer service line and they can help you out. The statement of purpose and objectives. This is an opportunity, and this is a section that whether you're a new applicant or a reapplicant, you do need to fill out this section of the application again. This is a section to allow you to create a unique statement for each one of the institutions that you're applying to. These are the things in the box here are things that you should write your statement about. And again, you can write one statement that you can send to every institution that you're applying to, or you do have the opportunity of writing a unique statement to each individual program. So you can say, you know, I'm applying to Stony Brook for these reasons, or I'm applying to Temple for these reasons. So you can create a unique statement for each institution that you're applying to. Keep in mind that the limit for your personal statement is 18,000 characters. Notice that is not words. It's 18,000 characters. So that includes spaces, commas. That includes all of that. We do suggest, because we know that you like to write your essay, you know, write it into a Word format before you actually copy it into your application. You can cut and paste, but we do recommend that you write your personal statement in Notepad and then copy and paste it off of Notepad instead of putting it into a Word doc. When you put it into a Word doc, sometimes the letters and the characters don't translate over properly. So we suggest that you write your letter or write your personal statement into Notepad and then copy and paste it from there. Okay, the references section. This is a required section of the application, and as you can see, we basically tell you what types of references the programs are looking for. So 90% or pretty much all the programs are looking for either an academic reference and or a professional reference. We definitely encourage that you stay away from personal references. The programs are not going to hold as much weight to a personal reference as they would to either a professional or an academic reference. Once you log into here and add a new entry, so once you fill out this information for your reference, and as soon as you hit the Save button, an automated email is sent to your reference. So you want to make sure that the email address that you're entering is a valid email address because this is all done electronically. SOPHAS does not accept paper letters of recommendation. You must have your evaluators fill out the letter of recommendation online and then submit it back to SOPHAS. So you want to make sure that you have a valid email address for each one of your references. So again, once you fill out this information and you click Save, an automated email is sent out to your references. The references will click on the email. They will be giving a link to the evaluator portal with a username and password. Your evaluator at that point will log into their portal, click on your name. They will fill out your letter of recommendation right online and then submit it back to SOPHAS. So again, you want to make sure that you notify your references beforehand that they're going to be getting this email so they can look out for it. And you also want to follow up with them once you do enter the information. You also want to follow up with them to make sure that they actually receive the email. There are times, especially if it's a school address or a .edu address that you're sending the references to, which most of them are going to be. Individual programs may have very strong firewalls. So it may send the email to their spam mail, or it may send it to their junk mail. So you want to make sure that you follow up with your references to make sure that they did in fact receive the email and that they're okay to go in and fill out the letter of recommendation on your behalf to make sure that it gets submitted on time. Okay, the writing sample. As you can see, again, this is a non-required section of the application. The writing sample is really more for PhD students. So if you're not a PhD student, you may or may not have to fill out this section of the application. What we recommend is to contact the programs that you're applying to, or maybe send them a quick email to see if they require a writing sample. Most of the programs don't, but we did include this in the application more for the PhD students to be able to give a writing sample to the programs. But again, it's always a safe bet to contact the programs to see if they do require a writing sample before you submit your application. And the very last part is the school and program designations. So when you click on this, what you want to do is click on Update Designations. And it's going to pull up first the name of every program that's a part of SOPHAS. So I'm just going to click on Harvard University, and then I'm going to see all of the programs that Harvard University offers. So you want to find the program that you're interested in, and you can scroll down. You want to find all the programs that you're interested in. Click on the program that you're interested in, click Search. And then to select the actual program, you would just hit the Select button here and hit Submit. And once you do that, each program that you selected will show up on your designations panel. So as you can see, before you submit your application, you can add a program, or you can decide if I don't want to upload to this program, you can delete it. But once you submit your application, if you decide after you submit your application that you didn't want to apply to a particular program, or you found that you weren't qualified, we cannot offer you any refunds after you submit your application. So you want to be very sure that before you submit your application that you're applying to programs that you truly want to apply to and that you are qualified for. Because like I said, once you submit your application, we cannot offer you any refunds once you submit. As you can see here, most programs do have a list of additional questions that they want you to fill out. So once you select the programs, you want to go to the additional questions section and make sure that you're filling out the additional questions that that program requires. And you also want to make sure that you are attaching your personal statement. So once you, if you're applying to Tufts University and you wrote a personal statement specifically for Tufts University, you want to click on Add Statement. And then you want to make sure, I don't have anything saved here, but you want to make sure that you name your personal essays appropriately. So if you wrote a letter of recommendation for Tufts, you want to make sure you name it Tufts to make sure you're attaching it to the right designation. So every personal statement that you wrote will be saved here. You just want to click on which statement you want to apply to Tufts University and hit Submit. And then that personal statement will go directly to Tufts University. You also have the ability to rank the programs in order. Now this is if you apply to more than one program at Tufts. Now this is not a ranking to say, I prefer to be admitted by Tufts first and then University of California, Berkeley is the second school I want to apply to. No, this is if you apply to more than one program within Tufts University, you can rank which program you want first, second, or third. So those are the rankings. And then make sure that you check to make sure that the, whatever fees are owed, make sure that that all matches. The fee schedule is here. So if you are wondering, based on how many programs you're applying to, what it's going to cost you, the entire fee schedule is here. So you can take a look at that as well. Okay, so that's pretty much the application. One other thing that I do want to mention is that when it comes to deadlines, so when you go into the program designation section, as you can see, there's a submission deadline here. And every SOPHAS program is the one that decides when they want the application to be submitted. Now, oftentimes, programs, some of the SOPHAS programs do offer what they call a soft deadline or a hard deadline. Now, looking here, you're not going to know which is which, unfortunately. But you want to make sure that if you look at the submission deadline, so this one for Tufts University is January 15th. If it gets to be January 20th, and you can still see that you can select that program, what the program is basically saying, okay, we do have a deadline of January 15th, but that's a soft deadline. We're still going to allow applicants to apply. What we encourage you to do is after a submission deadline, so again, this one is January 15th. If it gets to be January 20th, but you can still select the program, we strongly encourage you to contact the program first to make sure they are still accepting applications. Oftentimes, The program may be very close to filling in their class. Even though you can still select the designation, the program may be very close to filling their class. So you want to make sure that if it's after a deadline, you just check with the program to make sure that they still have seats available, because you don't want to submit your application and then find out that they weren't going to review your application at all. So again, after the submission deadline, please make sure you're checking with your schools to make sure they still have seats available before you submit your application. The other thing with the deadlines is that the SOPHAS program, so one of the questions that we often get is what status does my application need to be in? So the programs really would like your application to be complete by their posted deadline. So what does it mean for your application to be complete? What it means is they would like your application to be submitted and all your fees paid, and have SOPHAS receive all of your official transcripts and a minimum of 2 letters of recommendation. Once we have all the information, your application is then considered complete. Now notice I did not mention test scores in that. You definitely want to request to have your test scores sent as soon as you can, but you may not be taking the test until later in the cycle, which is fine. Test scores are not part of your complete date, so we can always post your test scores once we receive them. What, again, makes up your complete date is a submission of your application and your fees, all of your official transcripts, and at least 2 letters of recommendation. That is what makes your application complete. Okay, so what the programs would like, or what the programs basically require, is that your application is complete by their posted deadline. All right, so again, you can always check the status of your application by going back to your application and checking your application status here. So if you see where Tufts University has a deadline of January 15th, you want to make sure that your status here says complete by that date. Okay, so that's basically the application process. I'm going to open up for any questions that we have. So if you have a question, please feel free to enter it into the question box, and we will go ahead and read your questions. Okay, so the question is, do schools like to see the individual sections for awards, research, etc.? Is it okay to just use the resume? To be perfectly honest with you, I can't really comment on what individual schools like to see or want or don't want. Every program really has its own individual process. So the second part of the question was, do schools look down on applicants that only submit a resume? No, I don't believe that they look down on you for just submitting a resume. As long as the information that you're providing is complete, that's really the most important thing to the program. So again, you do want to make sure that your CV or your resume is updated to include all the information. But outside of your resume, there may be things that you do want to put in the individual sections. So again, it's not required for you to do that, but we do allow you the opportunity to enter both in case there is information that may not be on your resume that you do want to enter into those sections. Okay. Okay, next question. Do we have to add a statement for each school if we use a statement for all the schools in the main application? No, that's definitely your option. If you want to write one personal statement and just attach that personal statement to the programs that you're applying to, then you can do that. You don't have to write an individual personal statement for each individual institution. What you do have to do, however, is before you submit your application to an individual program, you do have to attach a personal statement to that school. So whether you're just writing one essay that you want to be sent to all of your programs, or you're writing a unique statement for each individual program, you do have to attach the personal statement to the school before you can submit. But again, it's up to you whether you want to just write one essay and send it to everybody, or write a unique essay. That's completely up to you. Okay. Next section. If a school requires a second essay and the other relevant information, would that get sent to all schools? Yes. So anything that you enter into the main application here, with the exception of the personal statement, which you can make unique, but anything that you enter in the main application here will be seen by every institution that you're applying to. Again, the only thing that will not be seen by each program is your personal statement, and also when you fill out the individual questions for the schools, so the additional questions here. So these additional questions will only be seen by TUF, and then these additional questions will only be seen by the University of California, Berkeley. So the additional questions will only be seen by the individual programs, and then your personal statement will only be seen by the individual programs. But every other part of the application that you fill out here, when you submit your application, it will be seen by every program that you're applying to. Okay, if the applications are no longer being mailed to schools, will it take up to 4 weeks to get to the schools, or can we e-submit in less than 4 weeks before the deadline? Okay, so as soon as you e-submit your application, so as soon as you hit this e-submit button down here, the programs that you've applied to have access to your application as soon as you e-submit. All right, so that's the other reason why we say once you e-submit your application, no refunds will be granted, because once you e-submit, your information is then automatically can be viewed by your programs, and once your information can be viewed by your programs and you've submitted to that program, that is the other reason why we do not offer refunds after you e-submit. So you want to make absolute sure that what you're entering into your application is correct. As far as when you e-submit, so like I said, the programs can see your application as soon as you e-submit, but where we build in that 4-week timeline is because it can take up to 4 weeks for us to actually verify your application, meaning calculate your GPAs, okay? So what I explained to you before regarding the deadlines, the programs are not expecting that your GPA is going to be calculated by the posted deadline. As I mentioned before, what they want is for your application to be complete by the deadline, and the programs have already built this into their deadline. So again, in the example of Tufts University, who has a submission deadline of January 15th, they know that if your application is complete by January 15th, that your GPA may not be calculated for another 4 weeks, but they already understand that, and they've already built that into their deadline. So I'm making the assumption that Tufts University probably doesn't start reviewing applications until the middle of February, because they've already built in that 4-week time period into their application deadline. So again, for the deadlines, you want to make sure that when you submit, that your application is complete by the time you submit and not necessarily verified. Okay, Columbia says GRE scores should be forwarded directly to the school from the Educational Testing Service. Does that mean we don't submit them on SOPHAS? Yes, if the program requests that you have to send your GRE scores directly to them, then you would have to comply with the requirements that Columbia University has. So if they're telling you that they want the GRE scores sent directly to them and not to SOPHAS, then you would have to comply with that. Okay, if you're applying to multiple schools with different deadlines, if you designate an additional school after you submit, after you upload a new personal statement and can add additional GRE scores. Yes, so after you submit your application, you can designate additional programs to apply to. After you submit, you can create a personal statement unique to that school after you submit. So you can log back in and create another personal statement. So then when you apply to that school, you can attach the personal statement to that school. And then, yes, you can also have your GRE score sent to that additional program as well. You would just need to contact ETS, and you would need to give them the specific school GRE code. And then once you do that, they will send the official GRE scores to us. So you can have your official GRE scores sent to us after you submit, and you can also create a unique personal statement after you submit. So that's a good question. Okay. Okay, so next question. Should we input community colleges we attended for summer classes during high school? Yes. So if you attended courses during high school, which were more than likely categorized as advanced placement, most of the time advanced placement courses will show up on your college transcript. We do not require that you send your transcript from high school because we can't accept that. But let's say you're in high school and you attended a university or you attended a community college while you were in high school and you received a grading credit for those courses or advanced. So basically you got college credit. If those courses show up on your official transcript, so those courses transferred to your undergraduate college, then you will need to report to school. And then you would need to send us a transcript from the community college. Again, do not send us high school transcripts because we would not accept those. Okay, so we have a question from an applicant from India who is asking how to send academic documents to separate colleges. If you're applying to more than one institution through SOPHAS, you only need to send one set of documents. The beauty of the SOPHAS application is it allows you to apply to multiple programs using just one application. Excuse me, using just one application and only sending in one set of documents. So if you're applying to two designated schools, you only need to send in one WES evaluation and your official test scores. You do not need to send in separate documents for each individual program that you're applying to. Someone said before you mentioned about the resume, what did you say that we did not need to fill out? I'm a little confused by this question, but I'm going to assume that this may be a foreign applicant that is asking this question. So what I said that if you are a foreign applicant and you did not take any courses within the United States, you do not need to fill out the coursework section of the application. Okay, so someone is asking again about the GRE scores. I said, what does it mean to send your GRE score to the specific code? Do we go through ETS or SOPHAS? I'm a bit unclear about the code. Okay, so once again, the GRE scores, when you go into the FAQs and you click on standardized tests, the individual programs are given a unique code for their individual program. So when you must contact ETS, who is the testing agency that monitors the GREs. You must contact ETS, and you must request through ETS that they send your official GRE score or your official GRE scores to us. So, for example, if you're an applicant and you're applying to Boston University, you want to contact ETS. And I believe you can do this online. You want to go online, you want to contact ETS, and you want to say you want to have your official GRE score sent to code 3101. And then ETS sends us those scores in an electronic file. Once we get that electronic file, which we update your GRE scores every night, so we get an electronic file from ETS every single night to post your GRE score. So if you said that you requested from ETS to have your GRE score sent to code 3101, then once we post your scores, Boston University, because that is their unique code, will be able to see your GRE scores. Next question. If you took some courses at a community college, does that need to be included under colleges and universities? Yes, absolutely. Again, you must enter in the colleges and universities attended section, you must list every university or college that you attended. It doesn't matter if it was just a community college, you must list every college or university that you attended. Okay, so again, there's some confusion around the GRE scores. The question is, when do we send the scores only to SOPHAS, and when do we send to each college? So if you're applying to a college or university and you go into the FAQs here and you click on standardized tests and you look up the SOPHAS GRE code list, if your institution is not listed here, then more than likely that institution does want you to send the GRE scores directly to them. Okay, so if you do not see the name of your institution listed here with a individual school code, then I would contact that institution to ask them how they want the GRE score sent. It could also be that the individual institution does not require the GRE score, so that's why it's not listed here. But if you do see your college listed here with a code, then you do not need to go send your GRE scores to the individual programs. They only need to be sent to SOPHAS. It's only if you do not see your program listed here would you want to contact that program to see how they would like the GRE scores sent to them. For applicants that have already sent us transcripts but has not filled out the colleges and universities attendance section yet, that's fine. It's not that we discard your transcript. We hold on to your transcript until you actually fill out that section. So if you did send us a transcript and you haven't filled out that section yet, that's okay. We will just hold on to your transcript until we see that that's been filled out. But again, I recommend, if you have not filled out that section of your application, to log in very shortly or log in as soon as you can and fill out that section to ensure that when we receive your transcripts that we can post them right away. Okay, so next question. I tried to enter my revised GRE scores this morning under test, and there were 4 score types to fill in. There are only 3 types of scores given to the revised GRE, verbal, quantitative, and writing. Since there's a place for the 4 score type, this page will not let me see my GRE score and move on. What are we to fill out for the 4 score type category? So The GRE actual score type, none of these are required fields. So you should not have to enter in your actual test scores. If you've taken them, you should not have to enter in your actual test scores. If this is not allowing you to move on, please feel free to contact our customer service line and we can help you through this. Okay, in the coursework section, should we list AP classes credits that are listed on our undergraduate transcript? Yes. Again, you want your coursework section to look exactly like your official transcript. So if AP courses are listed on your official transcript, then you do want to list them in your application. You would list them under, so if you attended, for example, if you attended Boston University as an undergrad, you would list your AP courses under Boston University because that's the transcript that they show up on, and then you would categorize them as advanced placement. There's a section in the coursework section that you can actually categorize specific courses. Is it a repeated course? Is it a advanced placement course? Is it a pass-fail? So you would want to categorize it as AP, but you do want to make sure that if it's listed on your official transcript that you do list it in your coursework section. Someone's saying, what is a sample of how the entry should look under the community service section? So you just go into community and volunteer service and just click on add new entry. These are the things that the schools are looking for. So you want to fill out the title or what community service that it was that you did, who you did it with, the number of weeks that we were there, the hours per week that you worked, when you started the assignment, the month and year of when you started. And then if you do have an end, if it's still ongoing, that's fine. But if there is an end month and year, you want to put that here. And then you just want to give a brief description of what exactly it is that you did for your community service. So you just want to give a brief description of your duties and what you did during that customer service or community service time. Okay, so this is a good question. If you get transcripts, why do we need to type in each class from the transcript? The reason why is because if you don't type in each individual course, then we have no way of calculating your GPA for you. One of the benefits that we give to the programs is that when you enter in all of your courses, we go ahead and we calculate an overall GPA for the programs that you're applying to. And that's the reason why we ask you to enter in all the individual courses that you have taken. It's also a benefit to the programs because they do not receive your actual official transcript. So even though you're sending your official transcript to SOPHAS, we do not forward those to the individual programs. So the only thing that they see on your application is the coursework that you enter. So again, you want to make sure that it's entered correctly. We do verify the information, but this is the coursework that the programs see, and it's also the way that we calculate the GPAs for the programs that you're applying to. Question, do you recommend submitting separate personal statements if you're applying for more than one program at one school? If you're applying to more than one program at the same school, then you do not have to submit a unique personal essay for each designation. You're only submitting one personal statement for the one program that you're applying to. But if you're applying to two separate schools, so if you're applying to Boston University and Tufts University, yes, I would recommend that you write a unique statement for each individual school. I think the programs are very interested in not only that you want to apply to public health, but why do you want to apply to their individual program? And that is definitely one of the things that they're interested in seeing. So yes, I would recommend, if you're applying to more than one university, that you do write a unique statement for each individual university that you're applying to. So question, transcript must be mailed. They cannot be done electronically. That is correct. We do require that you send your official transcripts via mail. So whether it's FedEx, USPS, whatever it is, yes, we do require that you send a hard copy of your transcript to SOPHAS. Couple of things to keep in mind. We do not accept issue-to-student transcripts. So what does that mean? If there's anywhere on your official transcript that is stamped issue to student, we will not accept it. Your transcripts must come directly from your registrar's office. So if you attended a university and you walked into the registrar's office and you physically picked up your transcript and then mailed that transcript to us, more than likely when we open up that transcript and look at it, it's going to say transcript issued to, and it's going to have your name. If we see that, if we see the transcript was issued to the student, we will not accept that transcript. It may be an official transcript, but we cannot accept any issued to student transcripts. So you want to make sure that when you request to have your transcript sent to SOPHAS, that you're requesting it through your registrar's office, and that transcript is being sent directly from the registrar's office. Okay, we cannot accept any transcripts that are issued to you, the student. Next question, what is the purpose of the other relevant information section? What kind of info do people put there? This is basically just, it really is anything that is not part of the actual application that you may want a program to know. You know, for instance, some applicants I've seen, if they don't put, you know, honors and awards may or may not include dean's list. So if you don't want to put it in, you know, you received an honor award, you can fill out the section. Or if you don't fill out the sections at all, you just upload a resume. But you want your program to know that through, you know, 4 years of your undergrad or 3 years in your undergrad that you made the dean's list. That may be part of other relevant information. So again, it's just something that you want your programs to know about you that you could not enter into any of these other sections. Again, it's not a required field. You don't have to enter anything here. It's just another opportunity for you as an applicant to kind of, you know, tell the programs what you want to tell them about you in a way that may not be that you may not be able to enter into any of these other sections. Next question, are Canadian applicants from English universities, i.e. McGill, considered as U.S. applicants? Yes, you are. Canadian applicants are considered the same as U.S. applicants. So you are required as a Canadian applicant to enter in all of your coursework, to report your institutions, enter in all of your coursework, and have that official transcript sent to us, because we will verify that coursework before we send it to your your programs. Another question, can you remove a recommendation after submission? The answer to that is yes. If you e-submit your application, but you have a reference that is just not being very responsive to you, as long as the status of that recommendation letter is not complete, so if it's still in progress or if it's still new, you can delete that letter of recommendation, or you can delete that reference and add in somebody new. Okay? The thing to remember with the letters of recommendation is that once that letter of recommendation has a status of complete, meaning the reference already filled it out and submitted it back to us, at that point it cannot be deleted. But if it's still new or if it's still in progress, you can delete that reference and add in somebody new. It's a good question. Okay, next question. Do we pay per school or per program/department? That's another good question. You actually pay per school. So if you're applying to more than one designation at an individual program, you're only paying once to apply to that program. So you're paying per school, not by department. Question, can the GRE score be sent to SOPHAS after the deadline of the program? Yes, absolutely it can. Again, that's why we don't include test scores when we say that your application needs to be complete by the deadline, because we understand that it can take a little longer for the GRE scores to be received. We also know that you may not have taken the GRE scores until after a program deadline. So yes, you can absolutely send your GRE scores to us after you submit your application or after the deadline of a program. Next question, where do I send my transcripts? If you come over here to your left-hand side where it says Contact Us, our address is right here. So it's SOPHAS Application Center, P.O. Box 9111, Watertown, Massachusetts. So this is the address that you want to send your transcripts to. Our customer service line is also here, as well as our customer service email address. Next question, I'm an AmeriCorps member and recently submitted the fee waiver request. How will I be notified if my request was granted? You will be notified via email if your request was granted or not. So usually once we receive the request, it takes about 48 to 72 hours to actually send you a response. But once we process your fee waiver, you will be notified via email whether or not your fee waiver was granted. So next question, if my application is complete but I retake the GRE, how does that affect my SOPHAS application? It doesn't affect your SOPHAS application at all. What you would need to do is you would need to contact ETS again and request that your new GRE scores be sent to SOPHAS, again using the same school codes that you did to send the first one. So if you do want to have updated scores sent to us, again, you would do it the same way through ETS that you would for your original scores, and we will post them online for your schools to see. Yeah, so we'll clarify again. The GRE scores, if you see the name of the institution that you're applying to posted on our list, then yes, you do have to send the GRE scores just to SOPHAS. You do not need to send them to the individual programs. If using the additional sections for community volunteer service, should it be in bullet form like a resume or written out in essay format? That is really up to you. However you want to enter that information, that's strictly up to you. Again, the most important thing is that the programs have your information. I don't think they necessarily care what format that information comes in, as long as it's complete and they have the information. Keep in mind that when you're entering your coursework, if there are courses, so some of you right now may know what course you may be taking classes right now, or you may know that you are going to be taking courses in the spring. As you're entering your coursework, you do have the ability to enter in courses as being in progress. So the programs that you're applying to will see, okay, these are all the courses that the applicant has already completed. But we also know that these courses are going to be taken in the spring. So especially if it's a prerequisite course, you'd want the programs to know that although you haven't completed that course yet, that you will be taking that course at a later date. So we do allow you to enter in your in-progress courses so the programs can see that. Someone asked, how do you know if your institution is interested in these optional sections? We don't. We don't know any school-specific requirements. If it's something that you have a question on, you can always contact or email the school directly. Question, can you submit applications to schools one at a time, or are they all submitted at once? No, you can absolutely submit your application to schools one at a time. Again, the most important thing is to make sure that you submit your application prior to any one of the posted deadlines. So again, you may have a program whose deadline is in December, so you would need to submit your application to that program before their deadline. But you don't have to submit your application to a program that has a deadline in either January or February. Keep in mind, though, that once you submit your application, you cannot log back in and change any of your information. So you cannot change, I mean, you can submit additional GRE scores, but you can't go in and change your references. Or you can't go in and change your coursework. So understand that once you submit your application, you cannot go back in and make any updates. That makes sure that every institution that you're applying to is receiving the same information from you. Yes, again, someone is asking about the TOEFL scores. Yes, once again, if the deadline for a program is September 30th, you can self-report your TOEFL scores and then send us your official scores later. Once we get your official scores, we will just post them to your account. Okay, so again, for international students, we here at SOPHAS do not accept any foreign transcripts. If we receive a foreign transcript, we're just going to discard it. Again, what you need to do is send your official transcripts to WES, which is the World Education Services. They will complete a foreign evaluation for you, and then the WES will send us your foreign evaluation, which we will post online for your schools to see. And again, for foreign applicants, there's the whole section in our FAQs for foreign applicants on how to submit your foreign evaluation to us. Someone is asking about the procedure for the application fee waivers. Again, this is all listed in our FAQs. So if you go to the FAQs and look under, so there's 3 different types. There's a general fee waiver, there's specialized fee waivers, and that would be considered a AmeriCorps fee waiver, or other ones, Leadership Alliance or Gates Millennium. Those are considered specialized fee waivers. And then we also have international fee waivers. So if you just click on international fee waivers, it gives you the instructions right here on how to apply for it. Okay, so somebody is asking about the coursework entry service. So one of the things that SOPHAS is doing this year, if you are an applicant, if you're a U.S. applicant, because foreign applicants don't have to enter in the coursework, but if you're a U.S. applicant and you decide that you don't want to take the time to enter in your coursework, you can pay us to do it. So once you fill out your colleges and universities attended section and you move on to your coursework section, there's going to be a notice that says, if you don't want to enter in your coursework, click here and we'll do it for you. And it basically walks you through the instructions on how to do that. There is a fee for us to do that. It's $50 for up to 2 transcripts. So if you attended more than one university and you want us to enter your coursework for 2 universities, it is going to cost you an additional $50. Anything over 2 transcripts or 3 or more transcripts is going to cost you $100. So this is an option for you. Again, if you don't want to fill out the coursework section yourself and you would prefer to have us do it, there is a way to do that. There is a fee. Like I said, $50 up to 2 transcripts or $100 for anything over 2 transcripts. You have to pay via credit card. That's the only way that we'll accept a payment. And then you are still required to send us your official transcripts. Once we get your official transcripts, we will enter your coursework for you. Once we enter your coursework, we will send your application back to you to look through your coursework and verify that everything is correct. Once you verify that everything is correct, you'll submit it back to us, and then we'll go ahead and we'll submit your application to your individual programs. And there are detailed instructions about this as well. So if you still have questions, again, once you get into your coursework section, there are detailed instructions there on how to do that. Someone says, what is the difference between the statement of purpose and objectives versus the statement that you can attach to each school? There is no difference. It's the same exact thing. So what you're attaching to each individual program is the statement of purpose and objectives. I call it a personal essay. It's basically the same exact thing. Someone says, I'm still deciding between enrolling as a part-time or full-time student at the same school. Am I able to submit 2 applications so I can decide later? Are you able to do that? Yes, but we highly, highly, highly recommend that you do not create more than 1 account. It causes a lot of confusion, and also what can happen is if you create more than 1 SOPHAS account, then when we do receive your official transcripts, we're not going to know what account to post your transcripts to. So it's really best off if you decide what programs you want to apply to. And please, we do highly recommend that you only create 1 account to be sent to your individual programs. We ask that you please do not create duplicate accounts, because it does cause a lot of confusion. It can cause a lot of problems with your application. Next question. When we submit our application, does it send our application to all of our designated schools simultaneously, or can we choose the order which our applications are sent? No. If you have designated a program and it is in your designation section here, once you submit, it will be sent to every program that is in this section. So once you designate a program, and you do see it here, when you submit your application, it will be sent to each one of those programs at the same time. I have an applicant asking that they did a summer course at a foreign university. Do I need to go through West to submit this transcript? If you are a U.S. applicant and you took a course at a foreign institution through a study abroad program, then no. You do not need to go through West to submit the transcript. The only people that actually need to go through West if you are an actual foreign applicant and you did not take any courses within the United States. Okay, so a question about study abroad programs. And again, if you go into our FAQs, there's very, very, very detailed instructions on study abroad, because we do understand that it can be very confusing. So if you're a U.S. applicant, again, if you're a U.S. applicant and you took courses at a foreign institution as part of a study abroad program, but you were still paying tuition at your U.S. institution, you do not have to get us a separate transcript. What you want to do is you want to enter those courses under your U.S. institution, and you want to categorize them as study abroad. You do not have to enter them as a separate foreign institution. We do not need any additional transcripts. Again, if you're a U.S. applicant and you did a study abroad program, you still want to enter them under the U.S. institution that supported that program, and then just categorize those courses as study abroad. Again, we do understand that the study abroad issue can be very confusing. Please look at our FAQs as we do give very detailed instructions on how to enter in study abroad coursework. Someone was asking how far in advance of the application deadline should you take the GRE. I really cannot advise on that. I would say if you have the ability to take your GREs early, because a lot of the programs will not admit you into a program until they have your official scores, but that's really up to you of when you want to take the actual test. Yes, so again, I got another question about GRE scores. To confirm that you should send your GRE scores just once to the individual school GRE code when submitting, when contacting ETS. Someone asked, do transcripts get submitted to the school or to SOPHAS? You want to make sure that all of your official transcripts are submitted to SOPHAS, not the individual programs. Your references, you cannot designate what references you want sent to the different schools. Your letters of recommendation, as soon as your letters of recommendation are submitted, they will be sent to every institution that you're applying to. You cannot make your references unique. So all of your references will be sent to every program that you're applying to. They cannot be made unique depending on the school that you're applying to. Someone's asking if the resume is expected to be on one page. As long as you are under the file size, to us it really doesn't matter, and I'm not really sure that it matters to the individual programs. You just need to make sure that your resume is under the file size to make sure that you can actually upload it. Someone's asking how long it takes to get your results if you've been accepted into a program or not. That is up to the individual programs. We don't have anything to do with that. So if you apply to a program and you have not heard anything from them, your best bet is just to contact the program directly. At any point, if you're having any kind of technical difficulties with the application, if something is not saving or if you're not able to enter in information, again, please feel, one of the things that we ask you to do is sometimes to try a different browser. For some reason, our system does not work exceptionally well with Internet Explorer, so if you're using IE, we ask that you switch over to either Firefox or Google Chrome. Our system seems to work much better with those two systems. So if you're having technical difficulties, try to use either Google Chrome or Firefox and see if that fixes the situation. You may want to log off and try a different computer to see if that fixes the situation. But if none of that works and you're still having technical difficulties, please call our customer service line and we can help you try to resolve any issues that you're having. Again, yes, somebody's asking if English Canadian applicants have to submit through WES. No, you do not. If you are an English Canadian applicant and your transcripts are in English, then you would fill out the application as if you were a U.S. applicant. You do not have to send your transcripts to West to have anything evaluated. You would just need to send your official transcripts directly to SOPHAS. Somebody's asking one of the school's questions about whether one of the school individual questions is asking about whether or not you're disabled and if that includes learning disabilities. I cannot comment on that because they are school-specific questions. You would have to contact the program directly to determine what exactly it is that they want you to fill out in that section. Okay, so once again, somebody's asking about the deadlines. The question is the deadline the date the application is due by the programs or the date that the application should be submitted for processing and verification? Again, by the posted deadline, you want your application to have a status of complete. So again, that means that you have submitted your application, made your payment, SOPHAS has received all of your official transcripts and at least 2 completed letters of recommendation. So by the posted deadline, you want your application, you should have your application have a status of complete. Yes, this is a good question. Does SOPHAS consider an application complete if the provisional degree from West evaluation is missing? Yes, so for foreign applicants, you can submit your application at any time. We do not hold up your application for a foreign evaluation. So as long as you've submitted your application and you have paid your fees and we've received 2 letters of recommendation, then your application will be considered complete. We will not wait for your foreign evaluation to be posted before giving you a status of complete. It will be based on your letters of recommendation. So again, make sure you submit your application by the posted deadline, paid your fees, and have your reference submit. We would need at least 2 completed letters of recommendation. Okay, so if you're an international student who did attend a university within the United States, then you do have to enter the U.S. institution into the colleges and universities attended section. You do have to fill out coursework at that point. So anybody that took courses within the United States, whether you're a foreign applicant or not, you do have to enter in that coursework into your application and have an official transcript from that institution sent to SOPHAS. Yes, again, somebody should submit the names of courses not yet taken but will be completed by end of graduation. Yes, if you know the courses that you're going to be taking, then you can enter them into your application as planned or in progress. Okay, so I know we're going, I've answered a lot of questions, and I'm seeing a lot of questions that are duplicate questions, and I know we're about 20 minutes over the time. So again, I'm going to answer 1 or 2 more questions, but once again, I would say 90% of the questions that everybody has asked me, you can find answers to these questions in the FAQs. So again, I strongly encourage you to look at the FAQs to try to find the answers to your questions. If at that point you cannot find an answer to your question, at that point, please then go ahead and contact our customer service line, either by phone or by email. So somebody's asking, they've completed the West ICAP but have not created an account yet. So basically what's going to happen is that the evaluation will be sent to us, but we won't be able to do anything with it until you actually create an account. So, again, just please, make sure that you create your account as soon as possible. Okay, so that seems to be most of the questions that have been asked. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining this webinar. Again, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to call our customer service line or send us an email, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.